Today's 682nd day that I'm here to share lessons on learn. I'm learning. I hope lessons support your dreams, your goals, allow you to become the person that you want to become. And today I want to share a lesson that I learned about sales. I'm learning about sales because sales is an essential skill, because sales was 1,000 years in the past and sales will be 1,000 years in the future. When you learn it, of course, you're able to go to any industry and really being able to impact your income and really transform other people's lives, because when you are able to master sales, you're able to influence people and transform people's lives because you allow them to make a better decisions. So today I will share 12 things that you most likely will need to overcome obstacles that prospects have, objections that they have, to be able to really help them to make a buying decision, help them to make a changing decision. Because at the end of the day, buying is a decision to change. Buying is a decision to change. So what kind of things we need to overcome, help them overcome? Because the essential thing is that we need to help them overcome their obstacles, that they could change their lives. Because when you will start changing lives, then of course you will be able to make a sale, if that's what you do. So number one is price concerns. Now, when I say a price concern, that's a lot of times it happens is that a person is not able to see the value of change. That means it's not able to see the value of the product, service. So it means they see that huge price, with, for example, high ticket, so $10,000, and now your product in a product mind could see that it's only $1,000 worth, and now I need to pay $10,000. Like that person could say that, I have that $10,000, I have $50,000 in my bank account, but I'm not willing to spend $10,000 to this product, to this service. And why is that? A lot of times is that during gathering information, understanding the prospect situation, we didn't dig enough information, we didn't understand. And most importantly, that person, a prospect, doesn't understand their true problem and true pain. Because one thing that is very, very important to understand is that most people, including myself and every single person, is minimize their problems and minimize their goals. A lot of times, of course, sometimes people maximize their goals and maximize their problems, but only to cry. But when they need to change, the moment they need to change, they start to minimize their problems and minimize their goals. But when there's no changing decision, then they maximize their problems and maximize their goals. So that's why we need to understand that during a conversation, when you want to help a person to overcome the fear of change, we need to maximize their pain and maximize their goals. They could see how the gap looks like, and that's most time will be huge. And that's what you need to understand as well, because the better questions you ask, because most importantly, it doesn't matter that you understand their problem. What matters is if they understand their problem. That's essential. Number two is lack of trust. And there's different trusts that we need to really address during the conversation with the person. Is company. That means, does a person trust the company that you are a part of? Does a person trust you as a person? Are you sound salesy, or are you really genuinely interested in person? Then are a person is trustworthy, or service that you provide is trustworthy? So that do you build trust in your product or service? So those three already is very, very essential. A lot of times people forget even fourth, and sometimes even most important trust that we need to build in a prospect's minds, and that is trust in themselves. Trust in themselves. Now, some people come in and they believe that they're able to do by themselves. And then, of course, what we need to do? We need to ask questions, intelligent questions, to ask what they know. And they realize that they do not know a lot of things, and it will waste a lot of time and money to figure those things out. And that's how you're able to help. So that means you need to put down their trust in themselves to be able to help them. But sometimes, a lot of times, people who are really beaten by life, they do not trust themselves anymore, and they want to change, but they don't trust that they're able to make things happen. So that means we need to uplift them, find the encouragement word, genuine encouragement word, that they could uplift themselves and start to believe that they can do that too. Number three is uncertainty. And uncertainty comes from different things. It could be uncertainty about something that you said, and that means that we need to understand what they are certain about, and we really need to ask and get answers, and really allow that conversation to be open that person to really share all the uncertainties and all the concerns that they have. Because if you run through the meeting without addressing any concerns that they have, for sure will have uncertainty about how the program works, how the product works out, anything. Because if you don't adjust, of course they will not change because they feel that they have fear that something that will not work. And uncertainty is one of the main reasons why people do not change. So of course, clarity is essential when you think about sales and influence. Number 4 is competing priorities, especially high-ticket coaching services when people sell. Now, our businesses, that means it could be a person could have like 5 different options that they could do to really change their life. So that means if they work 9 to 5, so that means they could start sales job, they could do Amazon, they could do e-commerce, they could affiliate marketing. There's so many different things that person could do. So those priorities, competing priorities, are the things that we need to address. A lot of times it's not just making money, but sometimes people could do other things that they could put in priority. So really understanding how important for them is to change their situation and what they put in the number 1 priority. Because if changing their life and start making money is number 1 priority, it's much more chance that you will be able to influence to make that decision today rather than waiting 6 months or a year. Number 5 is decision-making process. It could be very important to understand it because sometimes a person doesn't make decisions by himself. So he always needs to discuss with somebody. And we need to help people to understand that the decision-making process that they had in the past led them to this position that is not good. That means that sometimes they need to be uncomfortable about decision-making process and changing the way they make decisions to really change their life. So that means that being able to understand their decision-making process and really challenge their decision-making process in a positive way could allow them to change the decision-making process and make a better decision for themselves and really change their lives and move forward. Number 6 is risk aversion. So every single person has different risk aversion. Some people are really loves to take risks and they are experienced in taking risks. But let's say that a person who never took risks, 10, 20 years lived in exactly the same life. Imagine how difficult it is to take a new risk, something new. It's huge. That means knowing that how long someone did one thing, that means that the longer someone did something, the bigger risk averse person will be. So that means we need to really build that pain even more that they could see that really is much more important to take that risk and move forward, because it's much more risky to keep doing what you're doing now rather than to really find the funding and finding the time to change, improve, and move forward and really look forward to achieve the things that you want, or maybe run away from pain that you have. So risk aversion is very important because a person, the prospect that is speaking to, he needs to understand or she needs to understand that keeping things as it is much more risky than changing, because when you change, you have a possibility to succeed. Number 7 is product fit. We still need to understand that if this is the best fit for the person, a service or product is for that person. And what it helps to do that is the questions that a salesperson asks. Because the better you are in asking questions and listening, the better you understand the person, the more easy for you to recommend and be certain and assertive during the pitch. Because now, during the pitch, when you're really showing possibilities with service and the product, then you have full certainty that this is the best case scenario for the person. But if you do not do a great discovery, do not know what kind of questions to ask, and do not understand the person, you will not have certainty and assertiveness. And that uncertainty of yours will bring uncertainty to your prospect, and that could lead not to sale and not to transformation and change of the prospect. And that is on a salesperson a lot of times, because when a person does a great job and helps to make a decision, then that person could change their life for the better. Number 8 is budget constraints. So first was price concern. So that means that, but that was more value concern. So that means a person has the money, but it doesn't see that there's a value in the purchase. But now budget concern is totally different. That means a person sees the huge value in what you offer, but he doesn't have the money to purchase it. And that means a lot of times we need to find out and be creative and help that person to be creative and really asking questions that could. So what kind of research you might have to be able to find the funding that they could potentially solve the problem and start making money or lose the weight that they're looking for. Because a lot of times people will be very resourceful and we not need to give up. We need to ask and help them to really to overcome that hurdle of budget constraints. Because sometimes they don't know that they are able to put on the credit, especially is that bad credit and good credit, because people are afraid to take loans. But the most important part is not taking loans on depreciating assets, on things that doesn't bring money. For example, if you take a loan and buy a TV or shoes or clothing, that is depreciating asset. You throwing away money. But if you take a loan and credit and invest in a business and grow the business, that means that loan will bring you cash flow that you will be able to buy so many different things. So that means that when you know and you have assertive and you're very assertive and certain that $10,000 that you put in will bring $50,000, you will take loans every single day to get that $50,000. Number 9 is competing options. So competing options is that it means that if you have offer that you sell weight loss offers, there are so many different companies that selling weight loss offers. So that means that you need to understand what other companies doing and really being able to understand what is the different, what are those things that is making you different compared to other companies. Because some companies are focusing on women, some companies on men, some companies on seniors, some on younger people, some on really healthy people who want to lose weight, some people who really have some medical conditions. So really, what is that one thing that really separates you compared to others? So because the more niche you are at the beginning, the better, because you're able to help, because you know exactly what kind of avatar you're able to help. And when someone is thinking what option is the best, what is competing those options and companies, now you're able to understand what is ideal criteria for that person and see if that ideal criteria aligns with what you offer. Number 10 is timing issues. A lot of timing issues, and there's two timing issues. One timing is that you don't have time, you're working 80 hours a week. But of course, that person needs to understand that if they do not do anything about changing and improving and allocating half an hour every single day, most likely will work for the rest of their life 80 hours a week. But now timing could be that for next week or next 2 weeks or a month, maybe someone will be on vacation and they're not able to start something. So that means what you're able to do to help to overcome those timing constraints. Because when you're able to overcome those time constraints, of course, that person will be much more inclined to change. Because waiting is a lot of times decremental, because during that month, they could think themselves out of taking action. Number 11 is personal resistance. Personal resistance. And I already mentioned that sometimes people do the same thing 10 years, 20 years, maybe even 30 years. It's super hard to change because they got comfortable. There's so many different self-limiting beliefs that a person could have. And during the conversation, we need to understand what kind of self-limiting beliefs do they have. For example, a person could believe that they are able to build a business without putting money into it. And there needs to be money. Maybe not yours, but some people find other people money to put in a business. But there needs to be money. You're not able just to put time into something to make money. Now, of course, it could be that some things that could work out, but in most time, it will take a little bit much more time than finding someone, a mentor, a coach, to be able to really hire someone and that could help you to make more money much faster. I'm a huge believer in mentorship. I'm a huge believer in coaching. So wanting to save time, wanting to really improve and grow fast is always the best thing to find a guide who could help you to move forward. The last one is just the legal or compliant concerns. So sometimes sales, if a person is doing B2B, it could be some legal concerns to make sure that everything is aligning, because some agreements doesn't allow to have some kind of clients. So those kind could be constraints and obstacles that people need to overcome. But of course, that's not as common as all other 11, because every single call, every single conversation, we need to understand that every single person has at least one constraint, and we will need to be able to overcome that constraint during conversation. And when you're able to ask questions and you're able to listen and be really engaged, and really, because one thing that I really learned, that in sales you need to be able to detach yourself from yourself and really focus on the other person. Because if you think about what kind of questions you ask, and if those questions are smart and anything about yourself, the sale will never go well. The conversation will never go well. The influence will never go well. But when you really engage into the other person and really want to help that person's life to be better, that's most time the other person will start to feel that you're genuinely interested in helping that person, and you most likely will be able to influence that person much more than really thinking about smart questions. Sales is not about smart questions. Sales is about genuinely being interested in another person, and at the same time asking right questions at the right time with the right tonality, and being genuinely interested and really trying to add value to the other person. And again, sales is a fun thing that I'm learning. I'm still calling myself as intermediate in understanding about sales, and there is so much more to learn. But I know that every single day, by putting information into my mind, I will be able to become better every single day. Exactly the same as communication. So I hope you choose to win, and see you tomorrow.